Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a wreath with a poinsettia. We're going to keep it very loose style for beginners, so this will be a little bit easier. And I'll show you step by step how to do it from start to finish. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's in a chat today, so if you've got questions, you can ask those and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Alrighty, so we're using a 12 by 12 inch canvas today. This is the Pro Series Dixie cotton canvas, and it's got a nice deep sides. Really gonna be good for this project. I think you could do it really any size you wanted to. I decided to crop it so that it was a square canvas because that wreath will fit really nicely on there. For the background, I'm going to use a kind of a 2-inch brush for the slats in the wood background. So I've got a 2-inch Aspen from Princeton, and I'm going to be using the Aspen series for most of our brushes today because they're a little bit stiffer bristled. They're kind of a synthetic hog bristle, and I think they're going to work really well for us. So I've got a 10 and 6 angle bright, and then a 8, 6 and filbert, and then a 4 filbert that's a short filbert. Those will be for the flowers there. This will be kind of more for the wreath and the foliage. And then I've got a couple other brushes I'm not sure we're going to need, but I grabbed them just in case. So I haven't painted this ahead of time, so I never quite know exactly which brushes and things we're going to need, but I grabbed what I thought maybe we'd need. So 2 and 4 round, and then a number 6 called Egbert. It's kind of a filbert, but it's super long, so it's kind of fun brush there. We'll be using those, and then I've got for some of the snowy effects, I've got a Willow's blender, 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch blenders from their VelvetTouch line. So these are all Princeton brushes. Thank you to Princeton. They're our brush sponsor. They're awesome. And Fredrix, our canvas sponsor. They provided our materials for these projects. So awesome. They don't pay me anything to promote them. They just send me awesome stuff, and I really enjoy their products. So it's kind of a win-win. All right. Let's go over colors. I've got burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow medium, phthalo green yellow shade, ultramarine blue, dioxazine purple, quinacridone magenta, cadmium red medium and light, and then this is unbleached titanium, titanium white, and some glazing medium. This is golden glazing liquid. It's got a little bit of an extender in it, so it's a little bit different than other glazing mediums. You could use anything that just kind of makes your paints a little bit more fluid just so that they flow on. And then you're going to want some sort of a ruler to do, if you want to do the wood slats, it'll just make your life a lot easier to have a T-square. Oh, phew, that was it. All right. How are you doing today, hon?
I am doing super great.
Good, good. Everything looking good in chat.
Everything is
everybody's
behaving. So
good. Hi, everybody. Glad to have you with us on a Saturday. I was just telling Mark, I'll have such more of a enthusiasm when we're painting flowers. It's really sad. It's like my favorite thing to paint. So I was like, yes. All right, I'm going to start with this number 2 brush. Here, I'm just going to make a gray with my burnt umber and ultramarine blue. I really like this combo. If I could make a paint color, this would be one that I would make. Call it Angela's gray. Hey, Payne's got a gray, right?
Exactly.
Why not me?
Exactly. Just let us know, Golden.
Right. So it's kind of I really like being able to use these 2 colors because if you add a little bit more brown, you get more of a warm gray, and if you add more blue, you get more of a cool gray. So it's really easy to adjust it however you want. So I'm going to just use this as kind of a plain background, and we probably could have started with this, but I didn't. I hate to start with the mixed color. When I start with the color on the background, I usually like to at least have like just one color, just so it's not so daunting. I don't know. People like to see the colors I'm using on here. So I am just going to slap that on there pretty fast here. And I'm going to grab a little bit of the glaze just because I've thinned it out a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and spray my canvas. You see how it's kind of breaking up here? If you don't want that to happen, if you spray your canvas when you very first start with just a little bit of water, don't do too much, it will just, that paint will really absorb down into the canvas much, much easier. Ooh, I grabbed a little bit of burnt sienna there with this. Oh well. Not going to hurt anything. I'll just get a little bit more blue and then a little bit more of my white, because I don't want it super dark. I just want, we're going to put the dark into the corners, but this is a white, white fence, so we don't want to have to fight a really dark color that we have to cover. We're just going to pull this down here. Got kind of a thick area right there. Okay, I may just have to have you take this and dry it, honey. Because I really kind of need this to be dry before I can do my upper layers on it. I should have had one like setting to the side that was already dry, like they do in cooking shows. That would have been smart. Because if I try to paint over it now, I'm just going to kind of mix a lighter gray. If I try to paint my white over this, it's just going to mix a lighter gray. So we'll just let Mark take it and dry it for us, and we'll work on the drawing. We'll draw a poinsettia, I guess, while we're thank you. While we're waiting. Okay. There's our gingerbread house that we're working on. I'll show you that. Made pretty good progress on it. This is our Thursday project I do with my $10 patrons. It's $10 a month. They get access to this and a special Facebook group. We do a project all month long on Crowdcast, and so we're about a little bit more than halfway through. So we're done with the candy canes and the little dude here, and we got a lot of the candies and all of the icing still left to do, but it's coming along pretty well. I'm really enjoying that project. All right, let's draw a poinsettia because I know Mark's going to be pretty quick there. So let's do it quick. All right, so pretty easy. You're going to just kind of start with a little area in the middle. Here is our center, and then coming out from it, you're just going to have these like heart-shaped, they're actually leaves. This is the flower, and then these are the leaves of the plant, that they're the colored part, which is kind of funny because you would think that they're the flower, but they're not. This is the little blossom area. And these are actually little individual flowers, I think. They're all kind of clustered together back here. And so I'm just going to kind of go out from there and create. Ours is going to kind of come down pretty far here and out this way. And this way. The shape is pointed on the tip, and it kind of squares off a little bit. Uh-oh, a hair puppy tail hitting stuff. Hi, Fitzpickle. What you doing? You can hear his tail knocking against stuff in the studio. What you doing, puppies? Huh? Oh, he's just laying down behind me. Being good. Oh, I thought Mark had come in, but he hadn't, so he pushed his way in. That's hilarious. Mark left the door a little bit open. Fitzpickle just kind of pushed his way in. Here. He's our, let's see, he's about almost 6 months old, I think, now. He's a lot of fun. He just graduated puppy class, so he knows how to sit and wait and all the other stuff. Basics. Okay. And then like this. This one's probably a little bit farther out. I'll probably make that one a little bit bigger. And then there's a nice large one right here that kind of comes out and back in like this. So this part almost squares off a little bit, or like there's a kind of a sharp angle to some of these petals. But that's pretty much all we're going to do. And we're going to tuck that into our wreath. So it's going to go like right on that corner here. I think it's going to be pretty easy to paint. You can see sorry, the color gets a little bit washed out with our lights here on that white paper, but thank you, honey. Alrighty, so now we've got a dry canvas and a clean brush, thank you. And we're going to start to dry brush our wood grain on here. I'm going to use both a little bit of unbleached titanium and white, and then just a little touch of that gray. You don't going to need a lot of the gray. But it is kind of a gray-white. And this time I want that kind of texture to come through so that it'll look kind of like wood grain. So I'm not going too thin with the paint. I'm not adding water to that canvas, so it's kind of thicker. I'm going to try to get it to cover that corner. This part of the wood that sticks out here sometimes comes up, and sometimes it doesn't want to get the paint, or it'll get too much paint when you're not wanting the paint to go there. So, okay. So I'm just going to go all the way down here. I'm not going to worry too much about my separation at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and go across here. A little bit of unbleached titanium white, a little bit of gray. If you want to separate out those bristles, you can kind of tap. That'll spread them out a little bit. This brush is probably a little too smooth for this technique. So if you have like a stiffer bristled brush, like a hog bristle or a gesso brush, that kind of thing, chip brush they're called, one of these kind of brushes, you could use something like that too but this one's a little too soft. It has to be really stiff to be able to do this. So this one is actually it's working fine for us. I'm going to get just a little bit of water just because it's not wanting to come off my brush. So just a little, though I don't want too much. There we go. And I'm barely touching it down. And that way it's getting this nice streaking effect. If I pressed down too hard, I would get kind of more solid coverage wherever, especially where I started with, a lot of paint. You can see where I've started, all of these areas. So if I want to kind of even that out, I can kind of come up to it or go in between here and try to kind of even out that color a little bit. But I'm not too worried about it. It looks like weather wood. That's the whole idea. So, and that nice dark gray or kind of medium gray color underneath is peeking through in all these cracks and things that we've got going on here. So it's creating a really nice texture. I really enjoy painting wood like this. It's really fun. You could do any color you wanted to, too. It doesn't have to be white. Like we've done this with reds. We've done this with blue. We've done all kinds of different colored, and regular wood tones. So you can see some of my other videos. I've got a bunch of videos that have these kind of wood background. We just did one in the fall with the sunflower on a fence. So that was a wood, kind of a grayed, weathered wood background. I think any of that would look good. Okay, there. So we've got our fence there. Ideally, we'd dry this again, but I don't want to have to do that to Mark. So I'm gonna. It's fine. I am gonna set this right here, and I'm gonna mark every 2 inches on my canvas here, and just kind of do a line, just a little bit of a starting line here, because that's going to be where our fence marks are. Okay, there we go. And then if I hold I'm going to use the burnt umber, a little bit of purple and blue to make a nice dark black color. I'm going to put my brush at an angle. I may not use this brush. I'll see. I don't know. We'll see how it does. Ideally, I would be laying this flat, but as long as I can just get right up against that ruler, I should be able to get a line. There we go. Good. All right, so there's our first one. I'll come down here, lay that down. I marked those lines. I'm coming right up underneath that line because when you do your color, it's going to go above the ruler. So if you want it to be spot on, you're going to need to go just below it with the ruler, just below your mark. Leave room for that thick line. There we go. Oops, I just kind of got a little bit on there. That's all right. I'll fix it. It's because I didn't pick it up straight. I kind of pulled it down when I lifted it, so lift it up straight there. So that I'm just gonna wet this brush out. And that white is still wet, so I can just kind of come up underneath there and just kind of smooth that out. There we go. Okay, and that's pretty much all I'm going to do on there. I don't think I'm going to do much else. I might go back in and highlight on here. Let me see if I can do that while this is wet. If it doesn't stick, then I'll have to wait and do this later. But I'm going to get the bright white, and right at the top, right up next to that dark, right at the top of these boards, if you kind of go with a very light white, very thin line, you see how that's making that look like it's three-dimensional? That'll just kind of pop those boards out. So we'll just try to do that. And ideally, again, you could use your ruler for this. I'm just going to do it by hand, because the more I use my ruler, the more I'm afraid that I'm going to make a mess it up a little bit. So, although I'm not being very straight with this line, am I? Okay. Where's that ruler when you need it? I'm going to go this way, because I'm going to get a straighter line if I go in the direction that I would normally like write a letter. Left to right. It's just easier more natural than going in the opposite direction. So just flipping it and doing my highlight, and try to keep it small. You can use a smaller brush than I have. I have the number 2 here. If you want to, you can go real small. This is not, there we go. Some of it's showing. It's enough. Yeah, it's kind of working. Some of this got a little bit thick right there. I don't want it to look like it's rounded. I just want it to look like right up next to that line there's a little highlight. So I don't know if I'm probably not gonna do it all the way across. I think I'm just gonna kind of skip it around in some areas. I think that would look a little bit more natural. Cute. Oops, I went up into my line there. Gonna have to fix that.
Yeah, you better. It'll probably be covered up by the flowers, but you better fix it.
Well, no, that actually might be kind of in the middle. Yeah, it could be. It could be covered up. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, knowing you, I mean, probably 95% of the wood will be covered by flowers.
Right, right. If I have room, I'll put a flower there.
Mm-hmm.
I am pretty notorious for that. Okay, so just kind of thickening up some of those lines. That looks good. Okay, happy with that. And honestly, that little white line is a total extra. You do not have to add if it stresses you out. Just you do what works for you, what you're comfortable with. This should be a fun project. So don't, if you're not a line person, don't do them. It's okay. You could just do a plain background. That'd be fine too. All right, let me flip this over here. So I'm just gonna get my paintbrush wet and kind of wring off the extra moisture, but it's not clean. So I want to set it off to the side where it's not going to dry out before I can clean it. So when you see me kind of taking my brushes out, no, at the very end of the show, I spend another, 15 to 20 minutes, half hour sometimes, depending on how many brushes, cleaning them and cleaning them well, and like a lot. Mark can tell you. Because he sometimes tries to do it for me. And then
trust me.
Yeah. And I'm like, not good enough.
She sends them back.
Yeah.
Not clean.
Not clean.
No. I don't blame her because it makes them last a lot longer.
Yes. Well, yeah, if you don't clean, it only takes one time not cleaning out a brush, and then it'll just kind of start to fray out. I was trying to find one that, I don't have one right handy that shows you that, but I'm going to clean off my hands here because I've got a bunch of paint stuck on them. Sorry, I know this is noisy. Some baby wipes here. Because this kind of stuff, if I touched it onto the canvas, once my canvas was dry and my hands were dry, it would actually transfer. It's kind of like rub-on transfers. It would just come right off my hand onto the canvas and leave marks. So I don't want that to happen while I'm not paying attention and doing something else. And that has happened to me before. So
you're saying there's too many marks here?
Right. Only one room for one mark in the studio.
Okay.
If you want to, you could do, kind of a faint outline of a knot too. I don't think I'm going to do that, but that's optional. Okay, so let me see. I'm going to grab a green chalk here. This is just regular school chalk, and hopefully this is dry enough that I won't be lifting off too much of it. Let's see. So my center circle is fairly small because I've got to fit in all this greenery around it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that first, and it should kind of, you can see that this is our direct center, right? So we can just kind of go just above it here and around the side and below it here. Kind of start there. And then our greenery will kind of go in this direction. So I think we've left enough room. We want a good like 2 to 3, probably 3 inches of room around it to be able to put our greenery. And then our poinsettia is going to come all the way to the middle here and fill in this space here. So let me just checking that and making sure that I'm leaving enough room for it. Yeah, that looks good. Oops, I'm just left green chalk marks on there. Okay. I'm not going to draw any more on here because this is still wet and I won't be able to take it off because it'll take off that paint. I'm going to wipe that off. You can see how that kind of took off some of that paint there. I'll have to put a flower blossom on that. All right, so for the background, I think I'm going to start with a number 10 Angle Bright, and I'm going to have to get more burnt umber and more ultramarine blue. I used up a lot of it for the background because I'm going to need a lot of it for our wreath. This one is definitely, I think, I don't know. I haven't gotten to the poinsettia part yet, but I think that the main part of the wreath is definitely an easier. Wreaths are a lot of fun to paint. They're pretty simple as long as you get the sizing correct. There's really not a whole lot you can do to mess it up.
So you're a poinsettia person and not a poinsettia?
Poinsettia, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it's spelled that way because I don't know anybody that calls it poinsettia, but maybe it's a regional thing. Okay, so I'm going to just start kind of going there, and I'm loading the brush so that it's pressed flat. It's fairly thick with paint, so I'm not having to press down very hard to get the paint to come off, but it is pressed so that those bristles are sticking together there. So I've got a nice straight line, because if I've got a straight line here, then I can get it on my canvas. If my brush is not doing a straight line, it's going to, like if it's spread out like this, it's going to make a thicker line on my canvas. So, and there's a difference.
So real quick, on a painting like this, is it absolutely imperative or important to have it dead centered on the circle?
No, you could move it onto the side, and especially if you're doing it on a canvas that's not not square, you could definitely like move it to one side. I think it would be artistic, to have it kind of off center. So yeah, that's totally up to you. There's a lot of people that say you shouldn't center stuff, but I kind of like that look. So that's just me. I'm weird that way. So, but if you're like, it has to be on the third every time, then, you may want to do it on a rectangular canvas so that you can easily reach that third and have it offset. And by third, I mean, spreading your canvas into 3 parts and, putting something of your focal point in one of those third quadrants. So, the third this way and the third this way matching up. So, you'd have it on this canvas, you'd have your wreath like right here. In this lower corner is just too small to do it on a square. It's not really going to work. Okay, so as I get around, get my wreath kind of started here, I added a little bit of burnt sienna as well to it. I'm going to start to draw out these sticks that are kind of sticking out. And everything is kind of going in this spiral direction, so kind of keeping everything sort of going in this roundabout way. There's the poinsettia is going to be right here, so I don't want too much behind it. And there's some little sticks that are sticking way out here, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go more carefully with those. Keep them pretty thin. And just kind of tap those in, kind of slowly. Okay. This is all going to be kind of greenery here. I bring some of these out really far. Okay. And if I'm doing that, like the reason that I'm kind of really going in here, even though we're not seeing this dark underneath we're not seeing the dark brown in all these areas. We're seeing greens and things, but in between the green branches, there's this dark underneath. So we want to have a good solid wreath base for it to play against, so that when we do have little areas where the background is showing through our greenery, it's dark. So that's why I'm going back in here and kind of solidifying these areas in the middle of our wreath. That area really needs to be pretty dark. And then the outer branches can be kind of more wispy. What?
I am listening to the Merriam-Webster's pronunciation of the word.
Uh-oh. Is it wrong? Poinsettia? What's it say, honey?
Well, I'm trying to get it to work.
Oh, okay.
Why is it not working?
I don't know.
It just said it in my ear.
Well, just tell us.
Oh, my volume is down.
Poinsettia.
Oh, okay. Great.
And then the non-standard.
Poinsettia.
There you go.
So you're non-standard.
I'm well, we already knew that. You didn't have to go and say that. We all knew that. That's like our son got me a sticker for Christmas last year and says, she's an artist. And says, oh, I thought she was just weird.
Two ladies talking to each other.
Yeah, two ladies, two little girls talking to each other, whispering in their ear. She's an artist. Oh, I thought she was just weird. Yeah. So that pretty much. I think if it weren't for Mark, I'd be a whole lot weirder. He kind of keeps me normal. His engineer brain.
But over the years, I've tried to let her know that it's okay to be.
Yeah, but you say that, but
No, I'm serious.
yeah.
coming from the Northeast and engineer, yeah, there was a little bit, you didn't want to stray too far from being bland.
Right.
But heck, I'm older. I've been in the South for 20 some odd years, 30 years, whatever it's been. So
Yeah.
go for it.
Kind of rub it off on you. It's okay to be quirky now. Okay.
Yeah. I saw some streetwear I might try.
Yeah. Got a new favorite show called Full Bloom, but it's like teasing me because I can't binge it. It's it's about flower decorating. It's like I love contest shows. That's just I love Baker, whatever, the British Bake Off and all those shows. Pottery Throwdown.
It all has a creative side to it, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always. Yeah. Yeah. Make It. That was the crafting one. Yeah. Face Off was my favorite for a long time, but they don't make it anymore. It was on Sci-Fi. It was like the makeup for movies, movie makeup things. That was a fun show.
Yeah.
All right. So done with this. I'm just kind of talking and letting this dry. So if you're like, why are you talking about TV? I'm just.
But they said something
time.
interesting on that show today. And they said, you don't have to be perfect to exist.
Yes.
And I thought that was very, very profound. I wish I had thought of that. But it's true, So somebody out there needs to hear it. We're passing it along. You don't need to be perfect to exist.
Yes. Yes. All right. I am adding this brown mixture that's got the burnt umber and burnt sienna to my green here, just to make a darker green, just to give us kind of a darker base, and then we'll add our highlight greens on top. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring that out. And I don't really like that color. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to it. There we go. That's kind of more of an olive tone. Okay, let's bring it down here. And I am using the Egbert now. This is number 6 Egbert. Love the name of that verse. Egbert. Ooh, I'm having a hot flash. It's hot in here all of a sudden. I'm like sweating. Phew. Yes. I had one last night too. I was like, man, I'm hot. Is it hot in here? And I'm looking, it's like 68. And I'm like, okay, well, I must be having a hot flash. I go and look in the mirror and my cheeks were bright red, like so bright red. I'm like, yep, that's yay for 50. Woohoo. So fun. So glad I turned 50 this year. So yay. Sorry. All right, so adding a little bit of white here. Sorry, too much TMI. They're I don't need to know that.
It's much better than the alternative.
Which is?
Well, not getting to 50.
True.
So.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. I'm not complaining. I am a little bit. Not really. I'm trying not to complain, I should say. Okay. So added some yellow to my Unbleached Titanium here. Just kind of adding some of that, with my greens. And just kind of trying to find the right tone here. But these are pretty light green. And they're kind of not a, normal... they're kind of a... I don't know. We can kind of tap in if we want to get that texture. They're kind of a thin branch that's got texture all the way down it, instead of the normal needles of a pine needles. So, but we could do pine needles here too if you wanted to. And I just did that that video the other day with the pine cones. I think it was last Sunday actually. Pine cones and berries. So that would be a really good combo. You could do the pine cones and berries on this instead of the poinsettia if you wanted to, or do another one that has pine cones and berries too, so whatever. There's all kinds of way to adapt it. So I'm just saying, make it your own, however you want to. to get some dark here. I'm going to get some ultramarine blue. At this point, don't stress too much about the colors. As we get towards the finishing stages, that's where the colors, start to make a little bit more difference. But at this point, I'm just kind of trying to get some different greens. So I'm just kind of mixing up different greens to kind of lay in here for the background. So some of them are a little bit more blue, some of them are a little bit more yellow, but they're all pretty dark, except for these ones that I, laid the highlight colors on prematurely probably. Put some dark back in there. And these ones, I can't see where the top is, so I'm just gonna, the top kind of got cut off in our photograph. So I'm just gonna kind of put in some color there. And I'm loading it fairly thick with the paint and then just kind of lightly brushing. So if you load it up kind of thick, you don't have to press down as hard. You're gonna get thinner lines that way. And you get kind of, I don't know, more painterly look, I think. I can go a little bit faster that way and really just dab and dot and move quickly. And I think the more kind of quickly you put these on, the a little bit more natural they start to look. Just kind of get them in the right direction, and they're all kind of going in this flow this way. Okay, so let's get some of this yellow here, picking up some of that, and do some of that over the top. And this yellow is just going to really draw the eye, so we're going to kind of be a little bit more strategic about where we're putting it. Have some strategery going on here. What you laughing about?
The strategery.
I know.
It doesn't get old.
It's like my favorite. It never gets old. No, it doesn't. No. That's from Will Ferrell, right?
Yes, from Saturday Night Live.
Way back.
Sketch of George W.
George W. The second.
Strategery.
I think. Right?
Yes, yep.
All right, so going back in here with some of my lighter colors, adding little highlights on top. And kind of. There we go. Okay. I'm going to get some more green here. And some of my purple and blue. Like a really dark green. I'm going to use it in just a few of these areas here. Mostly like where I want this branches to kind of tuck down in. So just like at the bottom of some of these, just going to add a little bit of this really dark color. It's going to really kind of just cement it. Sometimes if you don't do this, you're just, the stuff that you add on top of your wreath will look like it's floating. So if you don't have it kind of anchored to these really dark blue browns that we have back here, then it can kind of just look like it's not really part of the wreath. It's just like stuck on there. So this will kind of help. Basically just kind of shadowing the bottom of these branches a little bit where they get tucked down into the wreath. Okay, that's good. Now let's add some white to this and see what it looks like. We may want to use a little bit of that. Okay, that's not bad. Let's go ahead and use a little bit of that. It's kind of a teal color, right? Got a little bit of the blue and purple in there. It's kind of a nice color. So let's use that in a few of these. Maybe make some, just tuck it in a few places. I'm going to do some kind of long, thin, I'm going to press that flat and just do kind of some long, thin, like spruce type branches coming out. Why not? Don't leave me comments about, oh, but that's not in there. It's okay. It's art. We can do what we want.
And you know what else you can do?
Funniest comments sometimes. It's like so, like it's okay. It's just art.
So back in the 80s, we learned we could dance if we want to.
There you go.
And so now in the 2020s, we've learned that we can art if we want to.
If we want to. Oh man, we need to make t-shirts of that. That's cute. I like that saying, honey.
And your friends don't art. And if they don't art, well, no friend of mine.
We can art if we want to. I love that. I'm serious. I want to make t-shirts with that on it. I'm doing it.
Just make sure there's no F put
Right.
in there. that might be mine.
The boys got you that perfect.
Yeah.
Best farter.
World's greatest farter.
World's greatest farter.
For Father's Day.
For Father's Day last
in
year.
a shirt 2 sizes too small.
It's awesome.
They were so proud of themselves.
They're like, he's gonna love this. It's gonna be so awesome.
And they're like 20 something. And
I know. Yeah. That's the best part of it. It's like, yep. It's so funny.
We're gonna get so much hate mail.
About what?
We're having too much fun and talking.
Oh, I know. Oh gosh. Yeah, every time.
Stay focused on the
Somebody
painting.
was like, I'm still painting. We're talking, but I'm painting like the whole time. It's not like I've stopped to talk. Oh my gosh. I had somebody like comment the other day, you know, it's like, oh, your videos would be so much shorter if you would stop talking. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I'm painting the whole time if you actually watched it. Like, it's not like I'm stopping to talk. Give me a break.
Thank you for the unsolicited advice.
Oh my gosh. I know. They got blocked. I'm like, block. Thank you, not. All right, going back in with some of the brown and just kind of adding some darks. Like, you know, some of these areas where they kind of lost the definition. Just adding a little bit of the dark back in here. Okay, so good. I love this. We'll probably put some of the greenery on top again, like after we put in our berries and things, because we want some of that greenery to overlap it. But this will be a great start for our stuff. So let's go ahead and start on our poinsettia, because we don't have anything really like covering it that we, nobody's telling us not to, right? So let's do it. I'm going to get a watercolor pencil so I've got a little bit more control over it. I drew it really nicely on paper. I kind of hate that I don't have the time to transfer that on. If you draw it on paper, then you can just transfer it onto your canvas. You don't have to draw it again. That's kind of nice thing about doing that. Okay, I'm not going to be able to draw it right there. Okay, I'm just going to draw it with a brush. We'll just like get in there and kind of be adventurous
we
here.
are living on the edge, people.
We're living large here. Okay. I'm going to get a little bit of the
parkour.
Yeah. Our off-road painting right here. Okay. So somewhere in here, like that, somewhere in there, so our other one, and then right in here. Those are the only ones that are really like matter that much. You know, the rest of them are kind of all on top of the greenery. So I think that'll work. And then we'll do a little bit on this one here. So this one is. And actually, if I mark in our center, that'll really help me. So I'm going to mark in our center, like right in here, because that gives me an idea of where to all of the petals are going to connect up to that. So if we kind of mark that, then we know where to point all the rest of these petals to go. Come out of and around. Okay. So somewhere in here.
So I'm going to say of all the haters, we know technically they're leaves, but we're going to call
I already said that when I was drawing it.
we're going to call them petals. So just
I know. No, I already said it when I was drawing it. But
well, I wasn't paying attention, obviously.
Okay.
You don't need to point that out to everybody.
Okay. Well, you weren't here. You were drawing.
Okay. Oh, phew.
You were drawing the.
Well, I very well could have been here.
That's true. It could have happened that way. It has happened that way multiple times. Most of the time. Most of the time, he's not listening.
Yeah, most of the time.
He's sitting right next to me and not listening at all to what I'm saying.
I'm chatting.
It's okay. I'm not bitter about it.
So did you mention what you're going to be doing in December?
I haven't. We are, I'm really excited. Brennan is my social media manager. I've talked about him before. He's awesome. He helps me so much. He posts kind of like my traceables and stuff, helps me kind of plan out things and just, gives me a sounding board, works my website and that kind of thing, sets my schedule, posts and all that good stuff. So we were planning out our December stuff, and we've got some sponsors that we're going to be working with, and we planned out to do a giveaway with Fredrix, and Princeton got on board, and then Arteza, and then I was like, we've got so much stuff, we should do like a 12 days of Christmas. So the first 12 days of December, we're going to do a big old social media push. And every day in December, we're going to have a different giveaway. Not all month long, just the first 12 days, I should say. Not every day in December. I don't have that much stuff.
Hence the name 12 days.
Right, 12 days. 12 days of Christmas. So, yeah, I think it'll be super fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't have, everything kind of all figured out quite yet, but coming soon. If you're part of my newsletter, you can sign up for that on my website at thankfulart.com. Do you want to put that graphic up? Do you have it?
I do.
There you go. There will be more information coming out in our newsletter, so that will be good, because I would think we're probably going to send out an email every day of the
nice.
thing to remind people
What's going to be one and all that.
all that good stuff. So,
and then at the end of the 12 days of Christmas, there's December 13th.
Yes, and December 13th, we're going to be doing a big bingo thing again with our patrons. So we did bingo, I don't know, May
or June or something.
Yeah, something like that. And it was really fun. And I've been meaning to do it again, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So we're going to do it again for this. We'll do it on the 13th. So we'll have 12 days of Christmas giveaway. And then on the 13th, we'll do a big bingo thing with our patrons. So I think it's going to be a really fun month. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned in December. Looking forward to it. So we're just starting to kind of get the word out now so that people can start looking forward to it and planning to win some stuff, hopefully.
Yeah, to give some stuff away.
Okay, this is like way out. This center needs to move much more like over here. It's just way too like bottom centric, and I probably need to pull that.
Yeah, that's like my
pedal
center.
Out. Yeah.
My center is becoming more bottom centric.
That's mine. Yeah. Okay. I am going to wipe all this off so I've got some room to do my flowers. All right. So I'm going to start out with a dark red here. We use Quinacridone and some of the Cadmium Red Medium and a little bit of the purple. That'll just make a really dark red. That purple will really darken it up. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, if we had black, we could use black too. I didn't add black to this, but I probably should have. But yeah, that center probably needs to move. I'm probably going to need to move that whole, this is all going to be flower here. And get some of the lighter red, do the lighter red just right here so I can tell where this petal is. And get that dark, add some of the Okay. See, I'm kind of going pretty thick with this, like glopping it on. It's gonna be much like juicier application of paint than we normally do. But that way we're gonna get all this really nice texture on here, and it'll go with the kind of the painterly approach that we're doing with this painting, so it fits the theme. I'm gonna bring this one out a little bit more. Bring this one out. See, moving that center this way helped. It was just way too lopsided. I think there's a petal right here too. Okay. And doing this dark underneath is going to be really nice because it'll give us that really good base, like we were talking about with the wreath, where that dark, you know, having that dark brown underneath all of our greenery. It'll be working with us, you know, working for us with this. We'll have all this nice dark pockets of color for our shadows of our poinsettia, so we won't have to add those in later. And then when we put that bright red on top, it'll really pop. So pretty. I love it. I'm gonna just kind of put this small petal in there so I kind of know where it's at living. It's already looking pretty good, I think. Looks like a poinsettia. You could leave it dark burgundy if you wanted to, depending on your house decor. You could make a white one if you wanted, or a silvery one. You could do all kinds of different things with it. Make it more personalized to your decor. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm looking at it. It looks lopsided, but if you look at the reference photo, it is kind of lopsided. It's kind of stuffed in there, and it's not like a perfectly round flower because it's kind of tilted. So I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of that red, and we'll see if I can get it to. Yeah, it's covering. Okay, so I'm gonna get that Cadmium Red Medium here and just add my little details in here while I've got it kind of wet. It'll kind of blend with it a little bit. Okay, get my dark color the middle here. Nice. They've got these kind of ridges. They're very folded, so I'm gonna kind of start from the outside and just kind of do individual brush strokes so that it kind of creates those folds, leaving that dark color peeking through in some places. Getting that light color, dark color, and kind of coming back in the opposite direction with it. Okay, get some magenta and some of the Cadmium Red Medium here. This one back here is a little bit darker. That magenta will kind of darken it up a little bit. Okay, if it's starting to dry and it lifts off your color, if your color's not, yeah, I need to probably stop that. That one's starting to lift. So just keep an eye on that. You may have to let it dry really well before you start to do this. If your paint color is kind of halfway wet, still wet. Fitzpickle snuck in here while you were out.
I know. I just had a Poinsettia again.
Oh, did you? Oh.
Here, so you can see. I'll put up for you.
He's the cutest puppy. I know. Yeah. He's been good lately during our shows. He's kind of figured out not to eat the cords, and it was just like one of those first few weeks. It was just like every time he came in here, it was just like, "Don't kill yourself, please." He's like, "Ooh, is this good to eat?" Yeah. We got like a ton of cords underneath our table here. It's just like, oh my gosh. Pulling in with a little bit more of the orangey red here on this one. It's a little bit more bright. And just leaving a little bit of a kind of a line there. This is very like smushy. So I'm not getting too fussy with the paint application. I'm just trying to get a little bit of a definition of color here. But everything's pretty. Okay, that was that one. This is the one that's underneath. Okay, I thought that was the one that was underneath. This is the one that's kind of underneath. And this one's over the top, right here. This one comes all the way over here. I should have left that one a little bit darker. Right there where it passes underneath it. Fun, 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 fun. Okay. So I kind of go through and kind of do a line of kind of thicker paint there, and then just kind of lightly pull it towards the center. Getting that orangey color. Pretty. Okay, there's one little baby one right here, poking out. And if this brush is like too big, which is kind of getting too big for these little baby ones, you can switch to a larger brush at any point that you need to. So I feel like you have to do it with, this brush, just because you can, a regular filbert would work fine too. So really whatever works for you is the right brush to use. That's the one. Use a little bit of the magenta color. These ones are a little bit darker back here. Okay, and then a little bit of the orange orange to put that purple to kind of separate out these a little bit right there. Okay, and get the, I'm gonna let that dry. Actually, I was gonna do the center, but I won't do that yet because it's too wet. All right, let's see. Let me go ahead and grab the small round. I like to do, or the small angle brush. I really like an angle brush for circles. Sounds weird, but they make really good circles. So let me show you how. I'm gonna grab the dark color here that we had going on for our poinsettias. We're gonna use the same colors for our berries. We use a little bit of the Cadmium Red Medium, the purple, and the magenta. And then I might add a little bit more of the red. Some of the berries are more of this purple color and some of them are more red. So more of the purple ones, I'm going to add a little bit of magenta and purple over here. So I've got like some magenta purple, some kind of the middle ground color. I'm going to smush that off my brush because I've got a ton of it on there. And then grab that red and magenta to do kind of a brighter color here. So I've got kind of three colors, 3 values. Like these are pretty close in value together. We'll be adding highlights too, but these will be our kind of our starting colors. And for these berries that are kind of close together, there's some berries like right here. I'm just gonna dab straight down. You see how that does? If you point your brush straight down, whoa, that was thick. Too much paint on my brush there. Get it off. Ooh. I'll put 2 berries right there. Got too much paint all in one spot there. Okay, so we'll just overlap a couple berries. We'll do one here, one here, one here. Oh. See that? Real easy to do. I'm gonna do kind of a line for our stem and then just dab in. You kind of have to have your brush loaded fairly thick with paint. Just not so much that it's going to glob off on to the canvas like it did there, but that's pretty good. So got little berries there, and they're different size berries, so some of them are a little smaller than others. So these ones are kind of small. So I'm just going to barely tap.
So over in Sweden, they call these Christmas stars.
Really?
I don't know where they would get that name from it.
I like it. Christmas stars instead of poinsettias.
That's what our resident person from Sweden says.
Nice. I think it's nice to have Mona.
Oh yeah, no, I forgot to tell her. We have Swedish fish flavored candy canes. So Mona and Swedish fish are 2 great things that come from Sweden.
Two of our favorite Swedish things.
Yes, exactly. And their meatballs are pretty good.
All right, going with some lighter colored berries now. I've just added some white to that red. It's kind of a purpley tone with when you're adding so it's got so much purple. So, you know, just if you don't like that, then you can add more of the reds. And if you want it to be less pink, you can add a little bit of yellow or a little bit of our orangey red, and that will tone down the pink and make it more of a true like light red. Okay, so there we go. I don't know why I'm doing that yet. It's really not time to do that. I'm getting so into what I'm doing here. Not. Let me grab some of the medium red here. I'm gonna do some berries with those colors. They're pretty stacked with lots of berries, these Wreath, so these ones are a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go larger with my circles. Just using the tip to kind of round out the ones that are kind of creating square shapes. Sometimes they kind of go on square. And then flatten that brush out and use the tip of it just to draw my little lines to these berries. Give them some stems. Water just to keep my paints moist while I'm working. So many berries. And this berries also kind of create this movement here, so keep that in mind if you want. Pay attention to how that red is pulling the eye around, and if you need to, you can bring out some of the berries a little bit in some places to. So like right in here, we need some berries coming up this way, like in our photograph. And sometimes you'll have a photograph that just isn't quite what you want it to be, and you can always just edit it and adapt it to what you wish it showed. You can add berries where there aren't any. It's okay. Okay, like this one, I feel like it needs a little bit of something like right here, so we could put a couple coming out that way. And then there's a bunch right in here that I missed. They're kind of all overlapped all together. Just berries everywhere, huh? And then there's some coming down right here too, little bitty ones. There. All right, so I'm gonna clean that out. And then anywhere where I have berries that are kind of sticking out that don't have a obvious stem, I'm gonna just add those. Really the ones that are kind of in the middle, it's not as important as the ones that are kind of sticking out here, like out, or you don't want a berry that's just kind of sticking out in the middle of nowhere with no stem. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to use a little bit of this on this poinsettia here. A bit of that magenta purple color. These colors are dry now, or drying, so I'm going to add a little bit of, if I need it, you may not need it, but a little bit of shading or a little bit of extra detail to some of these stems or veins, I should say. We kind of, when I painted them in, I tried to kind of put the veins in, but may have need to add some there. All right, I need to put in some fresh paint out of my magenta and red here. So I'm just going to put it down here because I'm going to use it. So an hour and a half, or an hour and 15 minutes. We're doing good. We'll probably, I don't think we have much longer here. We're
Well, of course I'm doing good.
pretty close to the end. You're doing good? What?
Of course I always do good.
You always do good?
Well, not always. Sometimes you go off camera
True.
and you try to blame it on me. Too
When you're zoomed in.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yes. All right, I'm going to dip all of these back into the pool. Get them wet again. So they're not drying out. And I'm going to grab my number 2 round here and mix my berry color. I'm going to go ahead and start with the Cadmium Red Medium and just dab that on over the top of these, some of these berries here. Round them out. And you'll still probably be able to see that dark through. We can get some of that dark and kind of add it back to the bottom if needed. But let's just add that brighter red that we're needing on some of these. Grabbing that burgundy color to kind of touch up the bottoms. And I'm going very painterly with this, so I'm not like trying to smooth out these lines. I'm leaving my brush strokes kind of showing. We're kind of leaving the mechanics of the, by painterly, I'm just meaning that you can tell that it's a painting. You can see the brush strokes and things, so that's what I'm going for with this. Same thing we did with the poinsettia. We're leaving those brush strokes kind of more visible, a little bit more of a impressionist painterly style to it. All right, so some of these berries, I've already kind of done some of these with the brighter red, but I'm just going to go back in and dab back in some of these berries with the brighter red. And some of them are overlapping, so that doesn't have to be, they don't have to be all like super separated and perfect. Some of them we're only seeing like part of them. Yeah.
So people are talking about the the current pandemic situation we are here in 2020.
Yeah.
And I said that maybe some of the prizes for the 12 Days of Christmas will be rolls of TP.
Yeah.
And it seems like people would rather have those than some gift cards or something. So.
Like, oh my God, yes. That's sad but true.
But over on your Teespring store, you have a bunch of masks with
We
your
do.
artwork on them.
Yeah, we have over 100 masks in there with my artwork. So lots of different ones to choose from. They're very like stretchy material too. They're kind of nice. I like them. Comfortable to wear.
And they wash well.
Yeah, they do.
We just washed ours.
Yep. And they're very vivid. Like the colors are great. That's one of the things that, sometimes when you get the printed stuff, I've found that Teespring is pretty good on colors and they match the colors up pretty well. And then they're vibrant. They're not washed out. So, yeah. All right, I'm just kind of going slower here because I'm trying to get to all these berries and there's a lot of them, so it's going to take a while. Here, take a minute. So while we're doing this, we can say, I didn't say this at the beginning of the show, but if you're new to our channel, hopefully you're still watching. We'd love it if you subscribed and came back and joined us again. We do these shows live twice a week. At least right now we are. Sometimes we take time off depending on the time of year, but through Christmas, we're going to take 3 weeks off at Christmas. I'm looking forward to that already. It's going to be awesome. Going to be a lot of puzzles. I've already got about a dozen new puzzles that I've been saving up. Pandemic stockpiling of puzzles. So some people stockpile toilet paper. I've been stockpiling puzzles.
I mean, it is fall here, so there are a lot of leaves on the ground right now. So, we don't really necessarily need TP.
True that. True. Gross. I have sadly done that before. All right, using a little bit of the highlight color here. Okay, I'm just kind of checking to see if those colors are right. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to use some of this highlight color for some of these berries. Just add a little dab of highlight to some of them. And again, if I kind of put it on while it's wet, they kind of go on a little bit more blendy, like a little more subtle looking. Just little, kind of going just above, not quite up to the edge. So if you go right up to the edge with your highlight, what it does is kind of flatten it out, because your berry is going to have a little bit of a shadow as it rounds out. So that highlight is not going to actually go right up to the actual edge of the berry. It's going to be just slightly inside. So that's why I'm not going right up to the top edge of the berries. Just coming just inside, above center. Okay. Those are looking good. I'm happy. Okay, so this side's pretty much done. This side not so much yet. We'll get there. I'm gonna add a little bit of magenta to some of these now. Let me do some of these over here with some cherry red. Get some of that brighter pop of cadmium in the middle. And I'm just kind of going over and kind of in between some of these dark areas to add some in between berries that are different colors. Got that dark base there. Need to not be putting my arm in the paint. Note to self.
Pro tip.
Pro tip, don't put your arm in the paint or your hand. That was probably a berry at one time. That looks like it's around right there. There's no telling which one it was. Fortunately, it doesn't look like I smeared it anywhere. Looks like this one was one of the... I'm going to do this so I keep my hand out of the wet paint. Who outsmarted who? It's funny the movies that you watch and how the vocabulary, becomes part, or that, some of the words are sayings become part of your normal day-to-day vocabulary. Like, nobody probably has a clue what
that did. Yeah, so
that
don't
comes
give it away,
from.
don't give it away.
Okay.
But that has been in our vocabulary for
Oh
what,
my gosh,
20,
easily.
25 years?
Yeah. Who outsmarted who?
Who outsmarted who? My mental facilities are twice what yours, you pea brain.
That's from the Rescuers Down Under.
You just gave it away.
Oh, what?
I told you not to tell anybody.
Oh, I thought you were saying while we were saying it. Maybe they didn't hear me. Why were you going to do like a prize for somebody who guessed it?
Man, you just ruined everything. Okay, we're gonna have to delete this video.
We probably watched that movie. Oh my gosh. This was when VCRs were the thing, like we didn't have like streaming for days and internet, that we could watch whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. You got what you got. You bought a few DVDs and then you watched them until you were so sick of them you couldn't stand it. But that one was always one of our favorites because it was so silly. Had some of the best sayings. Alright, just going in here, dark, they're like, I don't care. Tell me about painting. I'm really just using the tip of my brush here to just draw in my color, that's it. And leaving it fairly juicy, fairly thick with paint in places. Not smoothing everything out like I would normally do. So I'm adding like lighter berries over the top of some of these, leaving some of the ones dark. And the ones that are dark now are going to look like they're farther away, and these ones that are lighter are going to come forward for us. So we'll just kind of cluster some lighter ones together and then leave some of the darker ones kind of clustered together, and those will kind of give that some dimension just by doing that. Add some highlights to those. Probably highlighted. Oh, I keep putting my hand in it again. Okay. Dry, damn you. That is one of the pitfalls of using this kind of thicker application of paint. It does not dry very fast. So you do have to be careful. Or take it and blow dry it every now and then. Okay, going back in here, add my little highlights. If you add too much highlight, just go back in and add more of your dark back in, so it's not set in stone. You can go back and adjust as many times as you need to get it looking the way you want it. I find though with this kind of painting that the less you touch it, the better. Like the less fussy you get with it, the better. It just has a better quality overall if you don't overwork it by adding too much detail. And let those, even if like one of the brush strokes just looks weird, go ahead and kind of move on and do the rest and then come back and look at it and see. You may find that brush stroke that bothered you doesn't bother you anymore, So, kind of like with relationships. Move on. Maybe they won't bother you so much after. I don't know what point I'm trying to make there. Not really.
Well, you just
really
keep working on it till you fixed it.
Exactly. Yeah. Alrighty. I like that. I'm gonna get a little bit of the Cadmium Red Medium and the Cadmium Red Light here and some white. Mix up light red that's got a little bit more of that orange base. And then come over here and just, there we go, get a nice bright color going. And so I'm going to use that in some of these now that I've already got my red highlights, my lighter reds highlights. What I'm going to do is go over the top and just barely touch just a little kind of dab of really bright highlight in. Doesn't have to be all of them, just a few of them. And if you don't do all of them, then it'll visually kind of push back the ones that don't have the little bright highlight in them. So kind of brings out a little bit of dimension. See how that works. What you looking for?
Side again.
Mm.
People were requesting.
Pickle again?
Mm.
What? Where?
Yep.
I didn't get to see him. I was painting.
What? Well, stop painting.
Okay, let me see. Show the dog. Oh, he's so cute. Is he not the cutest little fluff ball? He's so... And he's like...
Don't get him all wound up.
Super... Pickle. Did he look up? No. He's just asleep. We'll get him to look up at the end of the show, just before we end, so you can see his cute little face. We're going to paint him next month for our $10 level video for our patrons. Paint him when he was still tiny. He got so big so quick. It's like, oh my gosh. Did not know he was going to be that big, but apparently 5 pounds in dog is a lot. Like he's only supposed to be about 5 to 10 max pounds bigger than our last dog, and he's like twice the size of our last dog. Oh yeah, I should have thought about that though, because you got a 10-pound dog. And then you double that, it's going to be twice the size. I didn't really do the math on that.
Well, I had a suspicion.
Did you?
When we were in there getting him, and you were talking to the lady, and she was being very general. Oh, well,
about the size of them.
Yeah, they might get, up some, maybe,
Uh-huh.
Because it's like, so you're saying he's not going to be small.
Right.
But she wasn't, saying, which is true. You know, you never know. They'll all grow to various sizes.
We've got a friend that has the same breed, and her puppy is really small. So it depends on the parents, I think. And his parents must have been bigger.
I think he's just big boned.
Yeah. That's it. Getting some burgundy here, some of the magenta here. I'm going to add that to these berries just to give some of them like a different tone than others. So, and adding a little bit of the highlight to these. I'm trying to add the little stem there. Okay. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with how bright the poinsettia turned out too. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe we would need another round of red, but I'm just going to do a few little highlights with the bright red here. Cadmium Red Light and and Cadmium Red Medium. No white, just a little bit of those colors, and I'm just going to add, see how that'll really brighten up some of those edges. I'm using this brush because I can kind of control it too a little bit better. And this will just kind of pull out a little bit more of dimension on our leaves here. So where I want them to overlap a little bit, I can highlight the area that's, you know, overlapping and leave a little bit darker color behind it so that it's obvious where the front petals fall. I'm going to get a little bit of the burgundy here and kind of use it opposite this just to blend that in. Felt like it was a little bit much there. Cadmiums have such a beautiful bright pigment. Oh yeah, I forgot to do these berries down here. Hello. You got neglected. Give them some love. Alright, so I'm going to grab some green and some yellow here, make a lime green. Use that in my center of my flower. Be sure I'm leaving some of the dark areas showing though, because there's some dark down in there. And then get that yellow. I'm just going to use the straight up yellow. I think it's going to be good enough just on its own. I'm going to set my brush down and just going to tweak it out like a little bit, just to fluff, make some little fluffy brush strokes here. And that's it. I'm not going to do anything more. I don't want to overdo it. I might use, okay, I said that, and then I grabbed my, I might use some yellow oxide here and do just a little bit with the yellow oxide. Well, no, I don't think I need it. I'll leave it. I don't want to overdo it. Okay, and then to finish it up, we're going to grab some white here. Some more of our green and yellow. Make a nice pretty bright green. That's kind of a lighter version of what we got going on. I'm going to add a little bit of the Ultramarine Blue, and that'll just kind of make it a little bit more of a sage. The Ultramarine Blue with that yellow will make it a little bit more of a neutral green instead of that bright green, army green. Okay, and then I'm just going to go over the top of some of my berries here. And I can use some of the dark green and blue together, maybe a little bit of brown. I have a dark green that kind of ties it in too. But this will help the berries to look like they're kind of not just pasted on, but part of it. So just cover them up just a little bit in some places. Put that greenery through them.
This is that anchoring you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Yeah, because without this, they kind of look like they're they're just not part of the scene, but because you've got so much other stuff that's overlapping, and then these are like stuck on top, and nothing is covering them. Then they just look like they're floating over things and not part of it. So. Definitely see some green coming out of these. So, oh, I didn't put highlights on those. Remind me to highlight these down here. And
I don't know if that's part of my job description.
yes,
I have to look at my contract.
Calling that.
Okay, check. Remind her to not forget something.
Okay, if I still have some of it, there we go. Some of this highlight color. That poor berry is just like gotten all over everything, but it's fine. Let me see if I, oops. Don't. Boy, that would be bad if that had gone over the wet paint. Then I would have had to fix it, but no, I'm just going to add a berry there because I can't get that off. And I smeared color right there. Just add a couple extra berries. No biggie. This one's just coming out a little farther than we intended for it to.
Put a berry on it.
What?
Put a berry on it.
Put a berry.
What show's that from, everybody?
There you go. But it said put a bird on it.
Put a bird on it.
Put a bird on it.
So did you do what I needed to remind you to do?
Yes.
Good job.
That's what I just did.
I knew that.
You weren't watching, obviously.
Well, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to remind you to do.
Okay.
Just to remind you to do something.
Check. All right, so I made this a little bit more blue green. So if you want that kind of more of a yellow green, you can go back in and add that too. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that because that I think I do like that kind of lime green look. It's more of that evergreen color. So let's just add some little fluffs of that lime green color in here. Just gonna kind of tuck it in here and there. Doesn't have to really make sense, but just add it to what we've already got going on. I didn't really do the like fingered evergreen. So if you want to do that, you can watch the video that we did on the berries and evergreens, because those berries and pine cones that had a lot of different kinds of pine needles in it. I'm going to do some right here, kind of indicate what I need a little bit dark, because if you just do the light, it just kind of too light. Kind of contrast. Gonna have contrast. Bob Ross said, "Gotta have the light to appreciate, or the darks to appreciate the light," or something. I can't remember what he said. He has some sort of saying like that.
That was going to be so good until you were
like, I don't remember.
You marked it.
What did I mean? I marked it.
You did what I would do. You kind of
it was like something like that. I don't know.
You need light.
Somebody somewhere sometimes said something that was kind of like this.
You need dark and light.
You need the dark, but the light is, I don't know.
Is lighter.
You need a lighter light in the dark to the light helps the light. I don't know. Something like that. Okay, I'm trying to get a bright yellow green over the top of this, and it is not wanting to cover. I've got a lot of paint down here. So I'm going to go in with the white now, because this is all got like kind of snowy.
Our Swedish checker has said that it's where there is light, there needs to be dark.
There you go. Thank you, Mona. It's very true.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Don't like that one. Don't want it to cover the very tip, because that kind of loses the form. So I'm just taking that part out. I'm going to add just a little bit of the really bright yellow green to the tips of the flower there too. This is great. This is what I needed right here. This bright limey color. I don't really love I'm really kind of losing my dark areas because I've added so much light. Like all of this is pretty much all light color in through here. So I'm going to definitely need to go back in here, and I'm going to get my dark brown and just add some of that back in there. Fun. All right, let's get the blender here. Get my white and a little bit of my glaze. The glaze is just gonna kind of make it a little bit more transparent. Could use zinc white too, but I didn't want to add another color to our list because I just didn't think it needed it. So I'm gonna just add some snow. If you do not want this, do not do it. It's totally fine. It's kind of changing up the look of it a little bit, you know, making it a little bit more loose, which I kind of like because I think it was getting a little fussy with the colors were getting fussy with it. See how that kind of breaks up the forms a little bit and makes them a little bit softer and more indistinct. I think it helps. Don't do too much of this, but a little bit of this is really, I think, gonna go a long way. Go some on the berries there. And some of the berries are iced. You can see in the photograph, you know, some of them have this kind of ice over the top. So that's what we're trying to do here. Just kind of adding a little stippling of that flocking snow flocking on here. Watch what you're saying there.
Can you do that on YouTube?
Yes, you can.
Okay, just want to make sure. Did you see Angela? She was flocking.
Outrageous. All right, I think we are done. Isn't that fun?
Really?
I like it.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was a really fun one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Try it. Do it. What happened? Oh, he did?
I was going to turn on the camera, but
He's gone?
He moved.
Where is he?
He's behind me now.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to add just a little bit more of my dark brown. Get that burnt umber and blue and purple here. Great. Put some more of the dark brown in the middle here. I feel like I kind of covered up all of the sticks, so I'm just going to put some back in here. Coming out. Now that we've got our greenery, we can kind of see where these might be helpful to kind of help the flow of the painting too. Adding some extra steps. Totally optional. This is just kind of nitpicking at this point. I was just trying to stretch it so Mark could put the dog on camera, mostly. But you didn't get him on.
Oh, it's centered up.
Huh?
It's all centered up on him. I
don't know what you mean.
I think he'll move when I
As soon as you turn it on?
do super chat. So we'll turn it on and see if you look up.
Okay. Oh, kitty pup. Oh, look at that face. Oh, he just had a good nap.
So we had our
Love how he lays with his arms crossed like a person. Oh, what? Oh, stretchy.
we had 2 super chatters today.
Come here, Fritzy.
The first super chatter was from Laura, and she says, "Thank you for pure holiday cheer." So thank you, Laura.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
And then our second one was from Laurel, and they said, "Thank you, Angela and Mark, for bringing these live videos to us. You both have great sense of humor that makes it fun. Love the beautiful painting."
Oh,
So thank you, Laurel and Laura.
okay, don't eat the paint. I got big puppy. Look at how big those big paws are. He's so big. You love it? What do you think? Yeah, he's a good boy. Look up to the camera. No, shoot, it's the wrong angle. That angle. Oh, all right. On the puppy. Oh, getting kisses. All right. Let me see if I can talk and get kissed at the same time. Get my face licked. Okay.
So just reminding everybody over patreon.com/Angela Fine Art. We've got traceables. We got bonus videos
You're so good.
at different levels. check it out. Below this video, there's links to the brush guys, Amazon, all kinds of things. Thankful Art, social media.
Yes. So Thankful Art, the newsletter is probably one of the better ways to keep track of what we're doing if you're interested in that. And like I said, we'll have information on all of our giveaways that we're going to be doing coming up in December. So I'm really excited about that. We've got brushes, canvases, and hopefully some paints from Arteza and some other stuff. So it's going to be great.
Rolls of
Gift
toilet
cards.
paper.
No promises.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, there we go. So we can, here, I'll zoom in there. You can see all that. If you look at it in the right light, you can see some of the texture on there. It's a little bit more textured than normal. And I really love this style of painting. I hope to do some more of it in 2021. Wow. Coming up soon. So probably this next week we'll come out with our December schedule, so that'll be posted so you can see kind of what we're going to have for the rest of the year and plan accordingly. So hopefully you'll enjoy some of those and join us on next Saturday. We're not having a video this Tuesday because it's our son's birthday, so we're going to be partying with him at home, COVID style. And
3 of us.
Yes, exactly. It's going to be awesome.
What he always wanted.
Exactly. It's like, I'm turning 19. I want to party with my parents at home. Yes. It's going to be great. So yeah, we're going to be doing that Tuesday night. So we won't have a video, but then we'll be back next Saturday for our polar bear baby. I cannot wait. It's going to be so fun. So little black and white. We have a whole series of black and white mom and baby videos. So that'll be one in that series. So it'll be fun. All right. Hope you join us for that. And thanks for watching today. We will see you next time. Bye.